Hi, I'm Lorian, and this is the Knitting and YouTube channel. Thanks for checking in, thanks for coming back, or just checking everything out. You can find me on Ravelry, Instagram, and here under the name Yarn Love Turtle. This is my second episode. It's February the 13th, and we just had the biggest snow we've had probably in years. We had about 8 to 10 inches of snow. We have a snow day from school. I work in our public high school in our town. And in Connecticut, where I live, we are not allowed to do remote learning. The State Department of Education does not consider that a valid school day. So snow day it is. So that's a lot of fun. I am wearing a sweater called the Big Love Sweater by Knit Collage. I don't know who actually designed it. I'm gonna give you a little 360 view here. It's all knit and Knit Collage yarn. I think I used a mini skein set for the stripes, and I don't actually remember, but it is on my project page, and since we're a day before Valentine's Day, it just seemed really appropriate. It's a cozy sweater. You know, these yarns, they're an exotic, a novelty kind of yarn. They're fun. I have 2 sweaters out of Knit Collage yarn, and it's probably enough for me. I think it's gorgeous and fun and pretty. Well, thanks for coming back. If you saw the first episode, this is my second episode. If you're new, it's great to connect with you here. I have a couple of finishes, so we'll start with that. I finished the bucket hat take 2 in black. On my first episode, you saw my first bucket hat for me. Same pattern in cream or white. And this is a pattern by Pam Sapienza. It uses 2 of the woolfolk yarns. It's designed for that, but really any yarn that gets gauged. It uses the Tove DK and the Flet Bulky. So I love it. I love it. I had a hard time finding the black yarn. It's being discontinued, the Flet Bulky in black. I did find it actually coincidentally on sale at the Webster's, which is a shop in Oregon. And I've got the Tove DK from Wool and Company, which is out of Elgin, Illinois, Indiana, I think it's Illinois. They have great shipping. They don't charge, at least they haven't been charging for shipping. So that's one finish. The other finish I have was in progress on the last video, and it is the Treelights sweater, which is a bottom-up sweater design by Jennifer Steingass. So you start with either the body or the sleeves, knit your way up. One of the things that's a little different for me is it has this garter stitch cuff. The pattern calls for it to be about double this length. I just found it too bulky for me. And then you bring everything together and you knit this colorwork yoke. I saw this design on the Woolly Thistle podcast, which is a great yarn cast, I think they call it. And Maggie, who's one of the co-hosts, was wearing this sweater, I believe knit in Lopi, some Lopi based yarn. But I was able to get gauge with Green Mountain Spinnery Weekend Wool, which is what the tan is, this white and the blue. It's a little hard to tell. This color is blue, this color is brown. And this brown is just a small amount of yardage. You need very little yardage of the 3 contrast colors. The brown is from Brooklyn Tweed. I have not actually blocked it, and I might steam block it. The fit is perfect. It is a fitted design, so it has some waist shaping. What else can I tell you? I'm super happy with it. I'm in love with Weekend Wool. I have knit 3 sweaters using Weekend Wool this year so far. I've pretty much used up most of my sweater quantities. Now I just have I don't know, a partial to 3 skeins of a couple of different colors, and I'm probably going to knit them into something with stripes eventually. Yeah, and I find it really versatile. This, I mostly knit the body on 6s, like the stockinette on 6s. I do size up for the color work because this was garter. I sized down for the garter. My other sweaters were knit on a 9 and an 8. So I find it really, really versatile. I feel like this will be a nice wardrobe basic. I'm really delighted to have that done. All right, moving on to works in progress. I feel tired of talking about this between my Instagram, well, for so long on my Instagram channel, but I do still have the Earth and Sky Pullover, which is a pattern by Sweaterfreak. I believe her first name is Jenny, and she is running a knit along right now of any one of her patterns, whips, works in progress included. I bring this to work and knit on it during my lunch break. So I'm making slow progress on it. It's a sport weight yarn. The color changing yarn is from Yarnhero, and this beautiful alpaca wool blend, which has some blue specks in it, is from Bald Eagle Ranch Alpacas, or Bald Eagle Alpaca Ranch, which is central Pennsylvania, and super soft. I know I'm gonna love it when it's done, when I prioritize it. I also cast on my last, my last solid bucket hat, take 2. So I just have about an inch, if that, of the brim, and it's the exact same bases as the black and the cream, but it's in the olive green, which is really a color in my wheelhouse. These knit up so quickly, like a day. So I cast it on because of the snow day. So hopefully I'll have it done next time. And I was just really itching to cast on one more sweater, even though I should probably put a bigger dent into my Earth and Sky. So I have always admired the graphic nature and just how striking this pattern is. It's not new. It's the Sheep Camp sweater, which is, I believe she goes by Native Knitter. I think it's Jennifer Berg, but don't quote me. So I really just have the start. It's a top-down DK weight sweater. What else can I tell you? All the yarns are from Feederbrook Farm. And I think all of Feederbrook's yarns are predominantly BFL. They may be BFL blends. This is the BFL solids, and this is the color changing yarn is the Entropy DK, which I think I bought as a mystery. So I'm excited to see that work its way into the sweater. Now, this design does call for a yoke in the schematic. The yoke is almost 11 inches, which is way too long for my preference. So I will probably be modifying where I divide for sleeves and then continuing the motif further down the sleeves and the body. Okay, couple of acquisitions. So first I wanted to show you this, which is yarn that I received as a gift from Ching Fiber, who is an indie dyer out of the UK. And I bought their Advent, which I'm planning to actually start knitting up soon. But because it was so delayed in shipping, which is not necessarily their fault, but I received it much later than when they intended for me to open it. They sent me some yarn, and this is their color Peachy, which is along the Pantone color of the year. I don't know if it's my color. I feel like on camera, maybe it is. Let me know. So this is their Melted Baby Suri, which I think they say knits up at a DK weight. I actually think, you'll notice a theme here, I think I would love it with olive color. So maybe I'll figure out how I'm gonna use this with the olive color. I have never used this base. I own another skein of it. It might work its way into something together. I don't know what it's going to become, but it's lovely to receive yarn complimentary. The other acquisitions I got through destashes. So the first is I acquired this Noro Miyabi yarn on a Facebook destash. So Noro, I have 7 skeins of this, and I believe it's either DK or slightly thicker, maybe worsted weight. My original idea when I saw it, it was very well priced. My original idea when I saw it was that it had to become some kind of sweater, and I just could not pass up Noro as it was priced. And even better, the person selling it was based in the same town where my daughter goes to college, and she was coming home. So she hooked me up and did a local pickup. I'm just trying to see. The fiber blend is 65% wool and 35% cashmere. It's spectacular. It's blues. I think the color is rending quite well on my screen. I'm considering making this a gift though, so we shall see. The other yarn that I acquired was also a destash, and it happens to be superwash, which I tend not to buy, but again, I just could not pass this up. So many of you may have heard of Nice and Knit. They are 2 sisters who were out of north central Connecticut who dyed yarn. And they had absolutely spectacular colors. They have not been dyeing for quite some time now. And I was able to get 6 skeins. I actually have 2 of this gray at the equivalent of about $12 a skein. Again, because the person was selling it kind of local, it was probably a 45-minute drive. I decided to skip the shipping, ask for a local pickup. This is not going to become a gift. This I'm keeping. I think I'm going to turn it into a striped cardigan of some sort. Probably a V-neck cardigan. Not sure yet. But certainly I have enough yarn and I couldn't pass it up. So this leads me to the end section of this video, which is where I wanted to talk about destashes and perhaps where do you find, do you buy yarn on destash ever? What occasion do you decide to look at yarn that's being destashed? I think it'd be really interesting to share, so I'll tell you what I do. Certainly, if I'm running short on yarn for a project or something, I will look it up on Ravelry based on the yarn and then see if anyone happens to be selling some from their stash. I don't think I've had to do that too many times, but it's a great resource for trying to find some yarn that you might really need. Some of the Ravelry groups that I belong to also have destash sections within them. So people within that group, and often they're a group put out by a certain yarn dyer or, yeah, and then people will be running destashes. I do also belong to a group that is just Ravelry destashing yarn and a separate group that is bags being destashed. I tend not to find too much of interest for me in those, but it's another source. But to be honest, where I found both of these is in a Facebook group. So it is called a Real Yarn Destash, and real is all capitals, and I think destash is as well. Now, you could get anything. Any type of yarn, from Caron cakes and acrylic and big box yarn to indie dyed specialty yarn comes up for sale in these places. I purchased both of these through that, and I have purchased once before some specialty farm yarn from Long Island Yarn and Farm, also through there. I have found it to be really safe. As I mentioned, I've done these in-person pickups, like local pickups twice, and once I had things shipped. sometimes, like I said, sometimes I'll look for things on destash and maybe have a plan. And sometimes I'll just say it's too good to pass up. I would love to find, sometimes people are destashing, maybe I'll find my 2024 holiday countdown through destash. You just never know what can come up. For me, a lot of things are not in that group of interest, but when something hits, boy, you got to jump on it. So I'm curious, do you buy yarn on destash? If so, where? And what has your experience been? Do you destash yarn through certain channels that you find? eBay is another place where you might be able to find yarns. The other place is Instagram. Sometimes certain people on Instagram are just running a destash with a lot of their yarn, and they put it up for sale there. Sometimes those are run for charities. There is a gentleman who goes under Gary Knits, Gary Rides or And Rides, I can't remember, but with one of those you'll find him. And he does a destash that raises money for charity. I actually bid on something in this latest one and ended up getting into a little bidding war with someone else and ended up not going the distance, let them have it, basically. Decided I didn't need it. So that's this latest episode. Just checking back in. Thank you so much for anyone who has decided to subscribe to the channel, left a comment. It's really nice. I am trying to respond to anybody who leaves a comment. It's great to connect with you here. At the end of my first episode, I mentioned that if I respond with a comment, it would come under a different name. It's coming under Yarn Love Turtle now, so you'll know it's me. All right, take care, happy knitting, and hope to see you soon.